Hey everybody, it's Marty the JavaScript Party and my coding buddy Rhett. Um, she's doing better. Um, Yesterday, like she did some really cool things, like literally just before I started the thing. She can tell I'm about to start the recording and she really likes it. And she will be very quiet until we start the recording and then she'll start to do some of her antics. But right before she went, I love you. And that was really awesome in yesterday's video. So like she does stuff, she tries different things, and then like she knows she gets positive feedback for some things, and she gets negative feedback for other things. And she loves getting negative feedback, so you have to be really careful with her, um, because she is a conflict-driven creature. But anyways, so in yesterday's video, we kind of um, ended up uh, dealing with rotation. And then right after the video, I kind of spent like probably 35 minutes going back and forth with three with ChatGPT because I'm very distraught over this thing, and I don't really like my inconsistency. Like maybe that should be st width, st height, um, but that's one thing I'm not happy with. But that wasn't what I was talking. The other thing is that this is called a position when it's really a rotation here. And I went back and forth, and like ChatGPT suggested like vector, but I went to college. I went to the University of Central Florida. Go Knights, and go Knights. And I went to school for electrical engineering and graduated in electrical engineering, and in engineering and in physics, a vector has a magnitude. Like it's like um, it's not just a three-digit thing. It's more than a three-digit thing. And then it suggested like element, which I don't think was a very good name because I think that is completely owned by chemistry, right? Element is like on the periodic table and all kinds of things. And so I finally kind of settled on triplet, but then I went back because in biology, a triplet is like, usually most of us, a triplet is like, while it's not technically the majority of times that we're exposed to that are like three identical humans, right? Like, or, triplets. So I was like, and then triple is what I finally decided was like a good one. I couldn't believe there wasn't really a good word for three things. And then I know there is a really weird word, and now I have to go. I was kind of hoping to avoid this. There's a really weird word for two things that I used to just get so mad about every time I would read this word, and now I fully understand. Yeah, a tuple. Um, so a tuple is my understanding um, a two things, but maybe not. No, what is a tuple? But I've heard them say tuples and stuff, and every time I ever read that, I've been like, okay, why? So it's an ordered, immutable collection of elements. Is a fundamental concept of data structures. Pair, triple. Oh, okay. So pair, triple, and quadruple. Yeah, triple is the right word. Um, but see, okay, so I guess a tuple is any sort of. It could be four things. It could be two things. It could be five things. It's like a generic thing. Whereas I want it to be specific to three items. So it's a triple. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fix that right now. I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to fix the two issues that I'm going to add st to everything, and I'm going to change this from a position to a triple. So let's go into position. So the first thing I have to do is like a real pain in the butt. And I'm going to just rename this to triple. And that breaks things. And then where's my triple? Rename to st triple. Yes. And we're going to get the same issue again when I rename this thing. Rename to triple. And like, it's like, it is so hard to balance in modern times the importance of sort of making sure you get all these sorts of things right versus the importance of getting stuff done. Like, so if you're working at a place and you get an hourly rate or a salary, like they're paying money, you really need to prioritize getting things done. But like when you're working on your own stuff, you really need to prioritize learning. Like especially if you're like me and it's more of a hobby than anything else. But even if it's not, even if you're doing it just so you can become more valuable at work, like learning it is way more important than getting stuff done when you're in that mode. And I'm like, it's just like, I'm wondering why there's just so much pressure that we put on ourselves to get stuff done as opposed to learn. And I think it's because like it would be virtually impossible to go into the grocery store and buy a week's worth of groceries in the United States. I don't know how it is in the rest of the world, but in the US and in like suburbia, which is, I live in a suburban area of US. So it's not a highly population dense area, but it's also not rural. Um, but it would be also possible to get a week's worth of groceries if I had to go in there and do a deep analysis of every item before I bought it. You know, if I had to be like, oh, okay, where does this come from? Oh my gosh, oh, they're having a war there right now. And oh yeah, no, so they've used chemical like warfare. So, oh, this comes from that place, so I probably shouldn't buy this. Oh, okay, no, this comes from a place where, you know, the whole local culture is very, very strict and they don't blah blah blah, they don't make, you know, like to do that would be good, but there's just there's no way you would, it would take you literally a week to buy a week's worth of groceries, so it's not feasible. um so, and I think that in 9 out of 10 things, or the vast majority of things that we do, are like, it's not feasible to do a deep analysis, so you just kind of have to go with your gut and do the best you can. But sometimes you have to do, you, I mean, sometimes it's better um, to go with feasible. Um, so go with actually learning and understanding, and that is way less often. You know, most of the time, and the life experience that I have, it it doesn't make sense to be feasible. If that makes sense. I mean, it's that to understand everything. It makes way more sense to just go with it. But that is the whole opposite reason of why I'm doing this show. So, um, the whole point of doing this show is to understand this stuff better, um, and to learn how to understand things better. Okay, so when I changed that to ST triple, basically it broke a bunch of stuff, which was absolutely to be expected. So I can hold the control button down and click this button here, and you know, I get this error. Triple. And then I could just copy that. So now a position is a triple. A look at is a triple. And let's see what else breaks. We're getting a triple from here. I don't know. I mean, to me, that just feels right. Um, Calling a look at a, well, see, a look at position kind of made sense. Like you're looking at a place, but rotation clearly didn't. And I think we're gonna. There's even gonna be more. I hope this isn't the last. I hope that, because if it was literally just rotation, it was probably better just to live with the confusion that caused. Now I don't know about you, but like I don't really have a problem looking at something like this, and then seeing an inconsistency here. Like I can mentally handle that jump easily. The problem is that those jumps are um, cumulative. So you can only handle so many of those sorts of abstract disconnects. And so I am doing the future version myself a huge favor by going with a consistent naming convention right now before things get out of hand, because there will be a point where it's just not feasible to rename everything. Um, that day will come, and so if we are like, no, I want to see really cool other meshes and stuff like that before I kind of circle back and take care of things like this, I'm very likely to never be able to do that. Um, so we have a problem here in the app component, and it's like, I don't know what a position is, bro. Position. And we have 3 instances of that. So, and then we have ST rotation. So now we know it's like the show time and space, show space and time. These are attributes that are specific to show space and time. Looks like I have another problem up here. And then ST rotation. All right, so we are good. Now we have an issue in our ST geometry. So if I go to that definition, and then I go to this definition, okay, so we want all these to be STs. And like, I think it would make a lot of sense just to do this off camera, and just take care of it, and then just say, hey, look, I made all these changes and all that. But like, I feel like that sort of discipline is lost today. Like the value of that, and like I feel like like I've always been a lead by example kind of individual, and like just seeing someone just say, okay, yeah, we kind of went down the wrong path on this. Let's go ahead and fix this now before things get too out of hand. I think there's a lot of value to that. Um, you know, I feel like that there would have been when I was a kid, there would have been absolutely no reason to do that, because like all the people that I sort of worked with um, would this is just what they would do. They wouldn't just like let something like this go. They would be like, okay, let's go back and fix everything. Now I didn't really know why. It was just kind of like, dude, this is such a huge waste of time. Why are we doing this? And it was like um, kind of crazy, because like then I got to kind of live in a time now where people don't do things like this. Like they just don't do it. And now I'm kind of seeing. So I guess they must have come from a time where people didn't do stuff like this. So they were like they imposed a bunch of um, of um, discipline on themselves to take care of things like this, because they had kind of seen what the downside of that was, um, and so then in the back half of their life, they um, saw um, kind of like the bad results of it, and then but I am now, like they had seen it and learned from their experience as children, and now I'm kind of seeing the reverse. And I guess that is kind of like how things work. Like you're supposed to, like every generation is going to learn from the previous generation, and so sometimes you may learn by um, seeing the previous generation. Like I have learned from seeing the previous generation do it right, and then sort of watching ourselves just do stuff wrong, and then seeing the results of doing everything wrong, and then they had learned from another. They took a different angle. Okay, what is your problem? It's saying that there's a problem there. Um, So it says there's a width, but there isn't a width. Let's see. In the component, oh, so I'm guessing that that was, oh, this is the first time it's actually been helpful. Did I not save that? Oh, okay. And then, is it this guy? No. All right. So this guy, I'm gonna hold Alt button down and click on this, and it is upset, and it's saying, "Did you mean for STJ?" And I do have that written down. Maybe I have an old one. Oh, okay, I have an old one. So sometimes, yeah, Angular does that. Like it's not Angular. Angular doesn't do it, but sometimes it just quits um, scrolling, and it's usually because of some behavior that you do, that I do right there. So okay, so that's the cause of the problem, and this is where the problem. This is the problem. So it's saying, hey, this should be an ST animation. Now, it's a pain in the butt to do it right now. I'm not going to deny that. It is a true, did I misspell it? No, ST height. It truly is a pain in the butt, but like it's way better than, it's way better than the alternate, which is, oh yeah, this is one thing that really annoys me about TypeScript is sometimes when you just change a like a type, suddenly you get a different sort of problem. And it's saying, I think what this is saying is that, or undefined is not. So it's, I think what it's saying is that in this function, I'm saying that they'll take a null. They'll take, so this is from the node modules, that it'll take one of these callbacks or a null. But I think what it's telling me right now, I'm hitting Alt and the left button, is that I could send this callback or undefined. Okay, so I'm going to say that this is, oh, and it's upset because I don't understand really what it's even upset about that. Oh, okay, let's do this. Maybe that's actually the problem. Okay, so that was actually the problem, is that it was assigning to something that did exist and all that. So I had jumped to a conclusion based on past experience. All right, so let's go back through these interfaces. Okay, so I'm definitely missing a bunch of stuff over here. So ST aspect ratio, ST. And then the other really good thing about, like, benefit from doing something like this is that it will, like, I'm much less likely to make this mistake again, because this is kind of painful. You know, there's no fun at all. Okay, so let's scroll all the way to the bottom. Let's just click on this and see if. So this is telling me that, hey, this problem was caused here. So now let's click on this one. So now we got. And I feel like this is, like, truly one of the most important behaviors that you can pick up as a software developer. And it's very, like, it's just not, like when I like maybe some people there may be people out there that this is just not something that they want to do in their lives. Sit here and fix something like this. You know, they're just like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Um, and you know, it's good. Like, it's good to figure that out. Like, oh no, there's some aspects of being a software developer that I just won't put up with, because honestly, like, if unless you can, I mean, you can go a long ways and all that, and maybe like you could be a developer for a short amount of time and go into management or something like that. But if you want to be a developer for the long haul, you know, this is just, you know, just a part of the job. It's a very unpleasant part of the job, but it is a part of the job. You know, like every job has something that is just like not pleasant, you know, like that's why they pay for that. If it was all pleasant, then, you know, there'd be volunteers to do it for, you know. They wouldn't need to. I don't know what that thing is about. All right, now we'll go back into ST camera. That's nice. It's all nice and clean. Everything's got an ST in front of it. Oh, here we go. Type an ST side. And then type, even Rhett is bored by this. She's just like, okay, this is, I'm not even gonna chime in. This is a silly, silly thing to make a video about. ST, and then we triple. I have a feeling this is going to have some massive implications. Z. And let them all break. And this would be like almost impossible. Like, I don't even know if I would do this in a professional environment. Like, it's just so, like, if other people are working right now on this, the possibility of really messing people up, you know, because this is just so widespread throughout the code. Um, like, any other work that's going on could very well get conflicts, you know. See, since I'm the only person working on this, I can like go back and go, oh, okay, I screwed that up with some inconsistent naming. Like, I can go back and fix that now. Um, but I don't know that that would be feasible in an actual like group coding situation. You know, it's like once you've made like um, like sort of large. Like, I used to work at this one place where we would like they would project out like what we were going to be doing for like the next 6 months, and like and we had like these 2 week sprints. So like they'd be like, okay, we want to build a common component that like does something, right? Like has an arrow button that you can click up or down or whatever. And then like um, you'd build that out, and like then like what would happen is the very next week maybe you'd think of a better way to do it, or find a better way or something like that, and then you'd start working on that. But the problem was that like you literally like the a dozen people would be using that common component in their stuff that they had to get done in 2 weeks. And so like making changes to that common component just was like not a good idea unless it was absolutely necessary. So like just making a change just because, you know, it would be better, you know, have a little bit less inconsistency, like just really wasn't a good idea, because you were like that you are knocking that train off, that big giant train off the tracks by doing that. And like they had, like this one place that I worked that I'm thinking about right now, like they had 3 teams of software developers that were all, making, like I don't know how much they were making, but the company was paying like $100 an hour for these people, and you know making a small change that causes all of them to have to put like an extra 3 or 4 hours in just was not a thing. Okay, so showing this, and this is not the first time it showed it, and it is breaking, but it's not showing why it's breaking. Let's see if we get anything in the console log. Oh, that's the worst. The worst of the worst of the worst. So I don't. So then the next step would be like to try to, like maybe if you restart it, it'll catch it, whatever is breaking. Because just changing things in the naming conventions should not break anything. Yeah, so now we got a problem. And I don't really know why. Why are you not building? Um, all right, so is our renderer ever being called? Renderer. Yep, so our renderer is being called. So what we can do is, I guess we can click in here, put a debug statement right here, and let's just pop this guy out. And I'm just genuinely surprised by this issue. But this is not like the first time something like this has ever happened to me. I mean, it's just like it doesn't make any sense that things would be broken. But so let's just take a quick. Oh, okay, so rotation I don't think is right, right? I think it should be ST rotation. And it's interesting that it didn't catch that, right? Like I know we set the rotation. No, it's XY. Oh, okay. No, so it isn't. That is the rotation of the actual mesh time 2000. I don't understand this. This is weird. Uh, Let's do this. Let's look. Let's inspect the actual. Oh, we already have it up. Let's go look at the elements and look in the canvas and just see if there's anything in there. It doesn't look like there's. Can I just open this? No, it's like, yeah, so it's just an empty canvas, it looks like. So it's never writing whatever it is. The renderer is never writing anything. It's figuring out the height and the width and all that, but it's never adding any meshes to the thing. So let's go see. So to me, it looks like our mesh is not getting added. So let's put a debug there and let's see if I can refresh. Okay, I don't really want this anymore. Are we never getting to that point? Kind of looks like we never ever get. Oh, scene add mesh. Okay, so let's look at our mesh. So mesh, rotation, Z. Can I mouse over that? Is 0, 0. This all makes sense. -3, 0. So it kind of seems like our mesh is good. We know this was working, the render width, animation. And this is a very good reason why, like, I should have probably been doing more commits instead of waiting so long to do a commit, because then I could kind of see exactly when it broke. I'm really, really confused. Everything seems good. Like this mesh looks good to me. Position, that looks good. Scale, oh, that's an interesting one. Up. So, yeah, rotation. 0, 0, 0. I think all that looks good. I don't see anything wrong with that. But if I hit run, it won't. It just won't do it. All right, so if I hit brush, let's see if it. Okay, so at this point, it has not ever rendered. Right, like this is the very first time it'll render. So I'm going to hit, and now. So it rendered one time, and the renderer just did not know. So is there something wrong with the camera? Far film. I do not see anything near. Everything in the camera looks. What, the camera is at position 0. I don't think the camera should be at position 0. Ah, so our camera's sitting in the middle of this thing. Let's see. STXY. Okay, so it should be sitting at 7, right? So, but our camera, its position is 0, 0, 0. So we're sitting right in the middle of that thing. So, and that's because we have a typo right there. Up in here, up in here. All right, so that is a perfect example of debugging and catching a silly bug. And I would say that so right now I only work with senior developers. Like everybody I work with knows their stuff inside and out. But when I worked with junior developers from like fancy colleges, right? Like they went to fancy colleges and they had like really great SAT scores and they were really brilliant. 99 times out of 100, they would have a bug and it'd be something along those lines. And generally there'd be more than one, because they would do all of those things. They would do all that code like sort of on the, like a whole bunch of code, a whole bunch of things like that, as opposed to like piece by piece like I did. Okay. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that. So two things. We only accomplished two things in this whole video, which was, I'm sure, way too long. Yeah, 35 minutes. The first thing we did was we changed the name of position to, see, we had like a couple of choices. Leave it as it is and just sort of just deal with the fact that we got something, 3-digit thing is called position, and that's just our language and it doesn't make any sense, but that's what we do and just live with that. We could have created a new identical type for that is basically identical. Which there are some advantages to that, and the main advantage to that is let's say in rotation we decide, oh crap, there's a third kind of thing, um, another kind of thing, and all that. Then it would be like, oh crap, this are we going to add like an optional thing to triple or whatever? But I would think that that would be the point, to make another interface that says, oh okay, this is a rotational whatever, rotational coordinate or something. Um, like that would be like, but anyways, I think that they're all like three numbers, right? And so it's a triple, and so that I think the smartest, the wisest thing to do was to just rename something, name it what it is, and update everything else. So that was one thing. The other thing is I had a whole lot of inconsistencies. Um, Specifically, like if it was an object, I would name it st. But if it wasn't an object, if it was a primitive, I was naming it without that primitive name. And I just felt like it'd be better just to stay consistent. I'm going to be working on this code for at least a year. I definitely am committed to working until 2026 on this code and learning as much as I can. I'm hoping that it's like 10 years from now I'm still working on this code, but I did have that last time, and it just wasn't feasible to continue on that last set of code. So I'm assuming the same thing's going to happen here, because there's still so much brand new territory to break down. Like I don't have grouping, I don't have physics, I don't have music, I don't have a lot of things that I want to add to this tool. And I mean, technically, I still don't have upload and download. I still don't have. I don't have any way to manually update it in a form. All of these things are just not like, there's a million things, literally an infinite number of things that need to be added to make this thing perfect, to achieve perfection. And on that path, I may run into something that makes reaching the attribute or the milestone that I want impossible or unfeasible. And since this is just me learning and all that, in all likelihood, I will probably end up redoing this thing. Um, so, anyways, yeah, that was no fun, and coding isn't always fun. I mean, like that was fun for me personally. Like I found it to be a great way to spend some of my time, because like it's kind of nice working on something where you have a lot of control, and you sort of you're just sort of the master of your own domain. And that's just a very healthy thing psychologically. So it was just a great way for me to spend some time, but it was probably not very fun, because we basically did a whole bunch of work, and we're looking at the exact same thing in there, and even Rhett back there fell asleep. So um, that's that. Happy coding, everybody. Bye.